Hi, Kanwal. Thanks a lot for taking the time out and welcome to our chat on behalf of IIT Bombay Heritage Foundation. I just wanted to thank you again for taking the time out. So I have a few questions, Kanwal. I know we've conversed over the number of years, and I've appreciated your mentorship and your guidance. And I'm very glad that I'm able to do this with you. So one is that, a lot of people want to know, yours was one of the first, or probably the first donation to IIT Bombay Heritage Foundation. And that time, there wasn't a mechanism to accept a donation or a gift in place. And yet you decided to give a fairly large donation, to start Kanwal Rekhi School of Information Technology. And before that, you had started a fund in the name of Professor Sukhatme as well. So what's the genesis of that?
So there is a bit of history. I had not been to IIT Bombay campus after I left in 1967. And this is around 1994. I was in Andheri at our partner Onward Novel, which was run by Harish Mehta. He was an Indian partner for Novel. Onward was his company, Onward Novel was his joint venture. So I remembered Andheri wasn't too far. So I asked Harish Bhai that, hey, how far is IIT from here? He said, 20 minutes. And I said, well, why don't we just go to IIT and drive by? So I went to IIT, and I was very depressed. When I was in IIT, it was a brand new campus. It was freshly built. And here I am walking in front of the main building, and the plaster is coming off. Building had not been painted. And I went to Hostel 7, and it was very depressing sight. There was no maintenance work done. And so I left without meeting anybody on that trip. I came back the following year, and I went to see Professor Sukhatme. And I asked him, how come you guys haven't painted the buildings or repaired this plaster coming off the building? And he says, our budget doesn't allow for that one. We don't get the budget for any maintenance work. And I said, but these are not that old buildings here. They are about 30 years old buildings. How can buildings are in that bad shape? And then he told me something very surprising, that these were the buildings built with the Russian help, and the initial contract asked for a 20-year life for the buildings. I said, 20-year life? Who builds a building with 20-year life expectation? 100 years is what people think. And I said, why haven't you asked us, the alumni, to help you pay for this thing? I want to give myself. And he says, no, it's not allowed. It's not allowed. And I said, okay, well, let's find out. So I gave it anyway to see what happens. So
okay.
That's how it started. It wasn't allowed. So I said, okay, so, let me be the troublemaker, and I'll give it.
No, that's great. I mean, Professor Sukhatme has some great stories around it as well. So a follow-up to that, Kanwal, this is a story that one should hear from Professor Deepak Phatak, because he is a master storyteller, and he tells about his meeting with you and how Crescent started, how the Kanwal Rekhi School of Institute of Technology started with your donation. So how did that happen? How did Crescent come about, and how did you decide to give such a big?
So I think it was Professor Sukhatme, Raj Mashruwala, and maybe Anil Shishar, who came to see me at Thai office. And they wanted me to donate $500 million to $1 million, for this Institute of IT, that Professor Professor Pathak had in mind. So I asked him, he said, we have put in the request to the government of India, and it takes about 5 years to get the approval and money. I said, 5 years to get the approval and money. And why don't we build it ourselves? He says it's 14 crore, it's a lot of money. And I said, I'll give my bit. I'll give my bit. I asked, how much do you have in available? He said we had nothing available. And so I said, okay, I'll give you maybe half of it right away. and the other half you can have a matching donation competition from other people, and say, yeah, they can match. And that half, I asked, I wasn't on top of the conversion rates. That half turned out to be at that time, roughly about 1.5 million, maybe a little over that. And I said, okay, I'll give you whatever, you spend half of that, and up to $2 million. So I typically $2 million, on that, on the spot. And so they were a little bit stunned because nobody had done that. They had asked for $500,000 in the beginning, and I here offering them almost 2. And then I heard somebody mumble, well, you have set up this condition of matching donation from others. Maybe nobody will match, and you will not have to pay. I said, well, in that case, come back to me. In that case, come back to me, and we'll talk more. But if nobody matches, maybe I'll pick up the whole tab. But I think it was a matter of weeks. None of them literally matched. So they had their money in their hand long before they had the plan, the actual budget, the actual architecture in place. So this is, it was being rushed, because of this donation from me, and matched money from London Electronic. And then, they came back and said, yep, the government has accepted your donation. And, it took them, few weeks, few months. And they want to name it, Crescent, Turnbull Rekhi School. And I proposed at that time, why don't we name it after Brigadier Bose, who was the first director of IIT Bombay. I said, why don't we call it Brigadier Bose, Institute of Technology? And Patel told me that, no. This thing has gone through, they accepted, the bill got passed, the name got set. Us going back to change the name is a hassle that we don't want to go through. I said, all right, that's what you said. So it was that's how the name came about. I didn't ask for the name in rights. I proposed the Brigadier Bose's name.
Yeah, no, thanks, Kanwal. I mean, we definitely have come a long way. I graduated long after you. There were a few more buildings then, and definitely now the pace of building construction has picked up, and the process is, as compared to what you went through, is much smoother, even though.
Because so let me tell you what happens in the US. Charitable business is as competitive as any other business. As you know, in New York City, if people want to put their name on, buildings, they want to have, all this Carnegie Hall, and you name it, and there's a guy who says, why don't I build a bigger, better, So this is charitable giving also has that competitive element, and I was very aware of that one in the US. And so I knew once I started the process, there are people who have done better than me, or as well as me, they will step forward. So that was, in my opinion, given from the day one.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. You're absolutely right. One related question to giving back, Kanwal, you talk about your father, and you also chaired a professorship after his name. So I wanted to ask you sort of what can you tell us more about that? How did that come about?
So my father was a very simple man. He was the first in the family to matriculate from high school, which is back then meant 10th grade. And 10th grade was considered very, very much higher education under the British time. And so he joined the army at the start of the war, as a foot soldier, and he went to Egypt and came back 4 or 5 years later as a subedar, which was the highest ranked Indians the non-commissioned officers had. And when the British left India, he got pulled up into the official ranks as a lieutenant, certain lieutenant. He was 33 years old at the time of independence and partition. Had a large family, 4 children. I was number 3. His parents, he had 4 sisters and 2 brothers. After he had a very large family. He brought over from the other side. Yeah, and I always marveled at a 33-year-old person doing all that, and he was very focused on education. He was very focused on education, and asceticism has one of the basic talents of doing seva and sharing in your good fortune. That's been a message of Guru Nanak from the start. So I saw him as a very even though we had a very tough life. I saw him as a very charitable person. He gave much we could, and so I always thought of him assuming responsibility of the broader family, paying back. So a lot of that one was very inspirational to me. And even though I wasn't favorite son of him because my elder brothers went to NDA and IMA, and he was disappointed that I was not a military material or army material, but I looked up to him.
Yeah, no, that's a very inspiring story. Thanks, Kanwal. Switching gears a little bit, and focusing on your career and entrepreneurial journey. If I'm not mistaken, you took your company, you co-founded, you founded your company, took it public on Nasdaq in 1987, Exelon, and also you're the first Indian American to have founded a company and taken it public. How did you make that happen? I mean, you were clearly a trailblazer. How did that happen?
Yeah. So clearly engineer, a hardcore engineer. I was in the valley here working as a hardware engineer, from 1971 through 1981, 10 plus years. Before that I worked in Florida and New Jersey, and so I was a hardcore engineer. But Silicon Valley, at that time had become the hotbed of entrepreneurs, engineers turning into entrepreneurs. Intel was the first, one of the first ones, and so I started to wonder why not me? Why not me? Why can't I be an entrepreneur? So there was a guy by the name of David Jackson, who worked for me. And he left to start a company. I saw in the press, David Jackson had become a founder of a company called Altos Computer. Altos was the original hot parts, ZAT, CPM machine. And I said, David worked for me. And by the way, David was also an immigrant, from England, but immigrant. And he had been here, even less than I had been. And one day I said, if David Jackson can do it, why can't I do it? I trained David Jackson. And so that was the thing which ate at me. Why not me? Why can't I do it? And so I got destabilized as a person, and of course, I just couldn't get the idea out of my head, and so I finally got the permission from my wife, and she said, "You do whatever you want to do, as long as the children don't suffer, I am fine." And the children won't suffer, and so that was in 1982.
Yeah.
And if you look back to 1982, the world had changed. In fall of 81, September of 81, IBM PC was introduced. And the mainframe computers were going to become, be replaced by smaller computers, and this notion of a distributed computing was being talked about. And so we said, these guys will need networking. So why don't we start to offer networking for all sorts of computers? And so that's where the idea came from. We will become the networking specialist to offer networking of all sorts of computers. And I was a hardware engineer. I was able to very quickly design Ethernet boards. Ethernet specs were published by Intel, Digital, and Xerox. And they were published also in fall of 81 with the announcement that chips will be available in 3 to 4 years to make the Ethernet network possible. But I didn't have to wait for the chips. I was able to build a trumpet design, and tested it, based upon the specs that they are published, and and it, we built a network, and it worked. And so we sold about 1 million of those boards, before the chips are available.
Yeah, that's great. So Kanwal, I just follow up on that is, you obviously have had a long and storied career in Silicon Valley. You've contributed, greatly, immensely to the area of networking and other areas. You've been on the boards of many companies. I know you work with many famous Silicon Valley entrepreneurs and executives. Is there any anyone that particularly stands out in your interactions, or any particular individual, or long-standing interactions, or any incidents that that stands out that you can share with us?
Well, there weren't many Indians ahead of me, right? Yeah. We know Tosla was sort of at the same time as I was, and Swash Patel followed by a year or two, and Prabhu Goyal and all that. So there was no role models for me. There were nobody to look up to. So as I mentioned before, Indians were not entrepreneurs, and they were not seen as entrepreneurs. And so I don't have too many stories, but I have a lot of mentees who have done extremely well. B.B. Jagdish, Raju Reddy, T.B. Chandrasekhar come to mind. But I invested, now I have invested in almost 200 companies. I've been on the board of, I have been on the board of over 50 companies.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I've been public company CEO 3 times.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. No, thanks. That's great to hear. So Kanwal, is switching gears a little bit, following up on your entrepreneurial journey and the names you mentioned, how many mentees you've had and how many companies you've mentored. You were highly successful, but you also decided to give back through TIE. I mean, you co-founded TIE, the Indus Entrepreneurs. Now it has global chapters. A lot of people have benefited. How did that happen? You could have could have started something else, could have been a full-time.
Yeah. So our journey, my journey was very lonely journey. There was nobody, as you know, entrepreneur, CEO, you're a very lonely person anyway. You can't share your feelings with people who work for you, because they look up to you. You are the you are a lot of Gibraltar for them. Your sense of stability. So all your inner doubts, fears. You don't talk to a potential mentor and get advice and help and all that. In our case, it wasn't possible, because anytime I try to talk to my board members, my VCs, they were very quickly in saying that, why are you doing it? You Indians are not cut out to be entrepreneurs. They are. So there was no help available. So when I talked to Subhash Patel, he had similar experiences, and a couple of other people. So we all said, it shouldn't have been that hard. It shouldn't have been. And then we said, this Indian belief that there's a entrepreneurial gene, Marwaris and Parsis have it, nobody else has it. Why don't we become the role models? Why don't we become the mentors? Why don't we become the inspiration for younger people? And that was the basis of TIE. So TIE again was a very deliberate effort. We were going to encourage our people to become entrepreneurs, and and the other thought was, the Jews were the role models. They had done well. They had similar route. They came out into professions, law and medicine and all that, and then they branched out to the businesses. And so why don't we follow that model? So the Jewish model was our model, and then there was the other aspect of Jewish model was, they were able to maintain their loyalty to America and to Israel. So I said, so something like that should be possible for us also. And became very much of a deliberate effort to help the community, foster the entrepreneurship, create the wealth in the community, and try to change the minds in India. There was a day one thought at TIE. Once we get going here, we need to take that whole mission into India, which we did in 97, 98.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot, Kanwal, and I can thank on my behalf and many of entrepreneurs who have benefited immensely, because of your efforts at that time, and to not make this entrepreneurial journey more lonely than what it needs to be. So it really thanks.
I'll tell you what I thought was, you feel very high highs and very low lows, as an entrepreneur, right? And you feel like an oddball because your family doesn't understand. Your family, your mother and father don't understand, right? Because we are, we are not business people. We are not, we are warriors. We are this and we are that, right? So our thought was to provide a forum where you can come, like going to a temple, to meet the like-minded people with the same belief system. So and you feel normal. You don't feel oddball, right? That you felt. So Thai became a forum, which made people feel very normal. They were. I'm not the only screwball. There are people like me out there, and this is the right thing to be doing. So Thai was a very big factor in making people feel, they can do it. If people like me have done it, so I have done it. So why can they be they're just as sharp as we are. So once you have the role models, once you have somebody of your type, there, then it's easier to dream that you can do it also.
Right. No,
It's hard to dream that you can do it when your role model is Bill Gates. He doesn't look like you, he doesn't sound like you, he doesn't have your background.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Kanwal, I wanted to picking up on that point of very high highs and low lows. I know entrepreneurship also takes toll on health. I know you have other interests in health being one of those. I know you've written a lot about that. You have quite a few followers. It generates discussion. And I remember you mentioning you took some time off, maybe a year or more, to work on your health. So what advice do you have for others from your experiences, especially when it comes to health?
So my framework in life is entrepreneurship. Everything I look through that prism. Was my mission statement, what's possible, but I can do where I need help. So you come up with a very realistic business plan. And when I looked at myself in 2002, I had done well money-wise, but I was overweight and was not in good health-wise. I had no arthritis and diabetes yet, but I could see that happening very quickly. If you're obese, and not exercising a lot, that's where it starts. And then I realized there was a family history of strokes and heart attacks. And I said, I'm 57, overweight. My father died when he was 60. My grandfather died when he was 61. My uncles died 58, 59. And then I realized that nobody had lived to be past 61. And wow. I'm 57. And he says, oh, geez, I have 4 years left. And I also believe, I have a saying that I tell to entrepreneurs, unless you change your direction right now, you're likely to end up where you're heading. And I knew where I was headed, and I didn't want to end up there. And so I had to change the direction. And then I did this thing like any other venture. I educated myself. I got to know the marketplace. I got to know the mathematics of it, economics of it. And I said, oh, I need to retool my body. I need to retool my body because my body response to my lifestyle. And I developed this entrepreneurial model of my body. And then I started to educate myself, how do I lose weight? You eat less and exercise more. How much less and how much more? So I went through a very detailed learning process, and I became very aware of what I needed to do. And I gave it the number one priority in my life in 2002. And I lost 75 pounds that year. And
Oh, wow.
I entered the year very unfit. I left the year very fit. And I felt very, very much restored as a person, very confident. This was another area where I had taken a mission and done extremely well, in addition to the doing my startup. But this was also was at the time of dot-com bust, where I lost a lot of my wealth. Not all of it, but a lot of my wealth. And I became very aware, there also that I know how to do the companies, but I don't know how to manage money. I knew how to create wealth, but I didn't know how to preserve wealth. So I had to educate myself there too.
Right.
And so the 2002 was a year of my second wave in life. That hey, I need to play this game on a more holistic way than just single dimensional way.
Right. That's incredible. Losing 75 pounds in a year, and also having many other epiphanies like that in life. Looks like that was a transformational year. So picking up on another interest of yours, Kanwal, I mean, you come across as a history buff, you write about history and battlefields. Can you tell us a little bit more and where that interest comes from?
So way back when I wanted to study economics and history, and my father was really, really upset, because, what do you do when you study economics and history in India? You're either doctor, engineer, army officer, IAS officer, chartered accountant. That was his favorite. So, there was absolute, you do that, you become a street bum. So I I got into IIT. By the way, I love being an engineer. I don't want to say, but my passion with history and economics stayed. And once I started to have more time, more energy, I started to study, and I had been reading the British Indian history and several books from both from English British side and the Indian side. And of course, Civil War was one of the other passions I had. So I started traveling, as a part of my travels to Civil War sites in America. I went to most of the battle sites. I still do it. I was there at Antietam about 3 months ago. In Virginia, one of the biggest battle was fought at Antietam, and then I started to do that same thing in India. I went to battlefields, where the big battles were fought.
Right.
I wish I had done more in India. India is far away, but I've done not enough. So there's a real passion. I think of history as a learning experience. Gives you a perspective on life. Economics, of course, is a ongoing thing. Everything is driven by economics. Everything is driven by economics. But history, is also an experience. How could 15,000 Englishmen, that's all they had, towards the end, take over all of India.
Right.
I mean, they never had enough manpower. It was 11 months one-way travel to England, so they didn't have the backup strategy, local resources, local money. So how were they able to do that one? So when I started to study that, it became very clear to me that all this modern capitalism that we know was built around East India Company. When one of the first publicly traded company, all about shares, all about Lloyd Insurance was built around ships going to India. When you start to study, then you very quickly start to understand. And then I started to understand the British model in India of franchising. They franchised India to the Maharajas.
Right.
A highly leveraged model. and so all the concepts I understood and developed in my entrepreneurial journey, I started to see the parallels. These new asset light models that we have in America. Each Indian company had a very much of that. When you
It's
start, thinking through that one, right? They stemmed off the top. Let the Indians do the work, right?
yeah.
So
No,
it's sort of, and it is back to my holistic way of thinking now. Everything sort of fits. Yeah.
so I see that you see a lot of that history from the entrepreneurial point of view as well,
Yeah.
which
Entrepreneurship is my framework for everything. For
yes,
everything.
I can see that in your writings too. So Kanwal, in closing, I just wanted to ask you a couple of things. What are you up to now? I know you talked about helping first-time entrepreneurs and maybe entrepreneurs that get overlooked probably a little bit on the mature side. And also, if you have in any sort of closing remarks and advice following that.
Yeah. So about that, right? So I am 76. Yeah, in another a month or so, right? Yeah, in 1945, birth date. And the thought of retiring, sort of, doesn't appeal to me. What do you do when you retire, right? And so I'm going through this process of retooling myself, see if I can improve my health even more. I have no lifestyle issues. I still have no diabetes, no arthritis, no nothing, right? I have none of those lifestyle issues. I have some issues with heart. You can do all you want, but your genes are what they are, right? So I'm going through this process of improving my health. But then I realized, all this things I have and all this, why don't I start this new thing? You can see the logo behind me. I'll step aside. Silicon Valley Quad. That's what it says. There are four of us. Me, Raju Reddy, Bibi Yadish, and my daughter Rajan. We have come together. And formed this quad, and we have is an active, passive angel investors coming together to form a pseudo fund. It's not a fund with the contract with commitments. It's a moral commitment, handshakes, and we have raised about $16 million a year for the next 4 years.
Okay.
And we said we'll invest in 6 entrepreneurs every year for next 4 years, build 24 companies. Everybody's on equal footing. We will find the deals, we will build the deals. Our passive investors provide additional capital to our own capital. We are not charging them any fee or any carry. We were going to do the deals on our own anyway, but this gives us a additional leverage on our own money, so we can do bigger and better deals. So I'm going to write a blog on that one pretty soon. Silicon Valley Quad is a very new, novel way of doing angel investing, where the active and passive investors pool their money resources to do the deals. We have done 4 deals already this year.
Oh, okay.
We will do 6 deals per year for next 3 more years from now. 24 deals total. We will invest about 64 billion, 65 billion by the time we are done. And hopefully, if my past record holds, if my past record is 34% of the companies I invested in paid, which is a very fantastic number. If my past record holds, then 34% of 24 companies, is about 8, 9 companies, right?
Yeah.
And my past record is I made 11 times cash and cash.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm saying, thinking it's a very much intellectual word. It's not, and so a very productive word. Gives you more resources to do more things you want to do, right? I don't need more money to live. My children don't need more money to live. So this money will provide the resources to do things I want to do beyond our family. But it also intellectual satisfaction. And Raju and Bibi are about 15 years younger than me. And they're learning this trade from a different perspective. They have done well. I don't want to say they need much help, but they are learning this trade. How do we So when I told them we could get passive investors to co-invest with us, they were skeptical. It took us about maybe a week. When I put out the word to my old network, everybody jumped in. Yeah, yes, we will do your deals. And so we had more money coming in, and then we knew what to do with.
Right.
And so so there's a value of personal brand. There's a value of personal trust. People trust you, and I trust them. I didn't require anybody to sign a contract with me. It's just a handshake. When we made the capital call, money shows up in 10 days, 12 days. Just like so. So is everybody's a winner. And so I want to live happily ever after, doing what I do best.
Oh, that's great, Kanwal. I mean, I quite look forward to the blog. It's a very novel concept that you're working on, and still blazing the trails. Even
So everybody puts in the money into this pool.
Yeah.
5% of money is set aside for the expenses. 95% that's invested.
Yeah.
And everybody's on equal footing. Passive and active agents are on equal footing. Nobody gets fees. Nobody gets additional benefits. So it's not a thing young people can do. But for me, it's been a very, very pleasing thing to happen at this stage in my life.
Yeah. Kanwal, firstly, I mean, and lastly, thank you very much again for taking the time out on behalf of Heritage Foundation and our alumni. Thanks.
I tell people I am what IIT Bombay made me. I owe just about everything. Before I went to IIT Bombay, I was a very low self-esteem person. And I didn't have the English education like many people did. Right, I went through. My father was a junior officer, and he had 8 kids, and 4 sisters and 2 brothers, 3 brothers to take care of. So we had a very much of a lower middle class life. So in fact, I got into IIT. I didn't speak English very well, but then I still don't. But I came out of IIT as a very confident person, because I did very, very well at IIT.
Right. No, I mean, and thanks for passing all of that learning along. Thanks, Kanwal.
Thank you.